Madam Chairman, we're live.
Welcome back to our afternoon meeting of October 22nd. Next up on our agenda is our 2:45 action item. It's a request from the Idaho Sled Dog Challenge. Jerry, come on up.
All right. Oops.
Don't fall.
I think that's kind of, seems like that's been happening.
Yes. Yes.
We did that real well.
Don't jinx me.
I think we're gonna wrap Sherry in bubble wrap.
Do you want to sit where there's a microphone, please?
Yeah, I'll just do this in a second.
Oh, okay.
One of the things about sled dog racing, of course, is a challenge, and that's in our race. As you know, 2024 we had to cancel because of no snow at the last minute. Last year we had fires. We lost part of our trail last year, and then in the middle of the race we had to stop the race because of avalanches. So they only got partway through, and then we had to cancel or had to suspend it. So there's always a challenge, including, and of course, the finances. So let me give you each of this is our request.
So before you go too in-depth, I just want to put up front, the county is using a new grant program,
Okay.
which will begin November 1st. And that program, the directions for it, the guidelines for it are going to be approved next week.
Okay.
And then there will be a grant opportunity that opens up. You can kind of explain, what you're looking for a little bit, but we will be using that grant window in order to accept grants for next year.
This is for this time, or this is going?
This is going forward. There'll be a new process.
Oh, after what we're talking
Correct.
about today, then?
Yep.
So I don't need to do that today, but for next year, you're talking.
No, this will not be approved today.
Oh,
This
okay.
will need to go through the grant process
I see.
for
Okay.
this next budget cycle.
Okay.
So within each budget cycle, we will have a window that is open for grant processing.
I see.
And we will
Okay.
receive all of our grant requests during that time. And then we will have a committee that looks at them. And it's much like the lot funding in McCall. There'll be a better defined process for everyone to use, and then it will be more transparent to the taxpayers on exactly where all of our funds are going.
And then the grant we find online.
Yes, it will be online.
Yes, we will have we will have the grant application on the website, including all the eligibility criteria, the application, the evaluation and selection process. And so you'll actually submit all of your items through a secure portal
I see. Okay.
online. And this year we are a little bit behind. So I think we're going to open it November 1 through December 30.
Okay.
And then we'll announce it in the first part of January. In the coming years, we will have this process prior to our new fiscal year,
Yeah. Okay. When's the fiscal year?
October 1.
Yeah. Okay. So then, and
It's gonna
then
be unique for Jerry.
those grants that will be issued. Let's say we get a grant. When would that be paid out typically?
I think in our application process, we ask when you would like it to be paid out. So what the county is doing is we've set aside $200,000 for this community impact grant, I think is what we're calling it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it may be partial funding or it may be full funding. And that'll all be addressed within the application about
I see.
when you would need the funds, if partial funding's okay.
Right. Okay. And so then when the decision is made, when is the decision made on that?
This one will be made the first part of January.
First part
So
of
we
January.
may have to do Jerry's outside of that because his race is the end of January.
Yeah, and see, part of our issue, of course, fundraising is a big part. We're all nonprofit, it's all donations and things like that. And so, yeah, and we would probably need to have a good idea because we're down this year from our normal reserves. Our normal reserves are about 15,000 that we like to carry forward. The race costs 35,000 to run, and that's kind of explained in what I have there. And our reserves are down for several reasons. One is last year, and this was on us, last year we got a big surprise on on website costs. We had a new website provider, and we got a big surprise. We had a $10,000 website.
Oh, wow.
And which was about an $8,000 surprise. So that hit us pretty hard. Second thing is that we, every year for the last number of years, we've been running it's been profitable, running an Iditarod tour up in Alaska, and I'm the guide and the pilot and stuff for all that. So we've been doing that every year as a fundraiser, and that's been done quite well. Last year, we lost money on it because we do raffle things, and so the expenses, the tour costs about $10,000 in expenses, and we usually would sell it for $18,000, and make a profit. This year we lost not a ton, but we lost on that, maybe 2,000 or so behind on that. There's that aspect. Then there's a couple of things is. What else? I had a couple of reasons here. Oh, yeah, then we've lost, McCall Chamber has normally in the past given us like $10,000, and that's for marketing and promotions and all that. That's down to $5 now. We had another state program, Project Filter, which gave us $5,000. They're no longer providing grants, so that's down. We canceled the race at the end in 2024, about 2 weeks before the race was to start because of the snow, and we thought we were going to get it, and it didn't work out, so we had to cancel it. And that year we got a grant of $10,000 from the county, but and then last year we didn't get a grant from the county because, but what happens is on the expenses, about nearly all the expenses for the race are paid before the race. The only thing left at the end of the race is the awards and things. Everything else is spent. So that was spent, and then we didn't get anything from the county last year. So that's down. And then, so that all in, that was about a $20,000 loss that we've had. So that's why we're in a little bit of a corner now that we haven't had in the past. So that's why, and then we've got to make a decision. I think we're going to make a decision within a month, maybe 1st of December, whether we can actually run the race because whether we have the money to do it. So that's why I'm asking the questions about when we can do it, because we have to make a decision whether we can actually have to cancel it this year or not. So, and I don't know if there's any room in what you're talking about for that at all, but that's our situation right now.
Okay. I think that it is this year is a struggle because we've got numerous people, that are asking for funding, and we are behind in this. I take that on me. So maybe we do need to be a little bit flexible this year. Take whatever we do off the top of the 200. So do we have anything in last year's budget that we can still draw on in the economic development?
So, commissioners, yes. And typically this request has been funded previously out of the economic development account. I think the commissioners identified that previously this could be potentially bringing revenue into the community based on the event, based on the success of the event. So the commissioners have previously, instead of utilizing the $200,000 that was set aside, they were utilizing money that was budgeted for economic development.
So if Jerry were to give us a invoice right away, because we have until the end of the month to take it out of last year's budget, correct?
Correct.
We have enough in there for 15.
Bear with me one moment. chose.
You guys do these sled dog challenges in any other states?
We don't, no. I've been involved with the Iditarod for a number of years as a volunteer there. So, and that's why, from that experience, that's why this started down here.
There's 3 of them in this region though, isn't there?
There's the, over in Oregon, there's the Eagle Cap Extreme. There's us, and then there's Race to the Sky over in Montana. All 3 of these races are Iditarod qualifiers, and we're the only 3 in the lower 48 for the Iditarod. And so it's been successful that way, and we've had quite a number of mushers from here finish here that go on to the Iditarod. And another thing I don't know if you remember, but women have won all of the races.
Women?
Women.
Oh my goodness.
We're good at cracking the leash.
Yeah, a man. Yeah, that's it. They've got experience.
And they have all male dogs too, don't they?
So we had one race was won by a man, but the rest of them were women.
Oh my god. I
These are
remember
tough races.
I remember the gal that did the Iditarod that won it several years.
Susan Butcher.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you only have $3,700 worth of entry fees. The entry fee is very low.
Yeah, that's what we have currently based on our signups right now. That's what we have right now, and so
Oh, got it.
there's we might have a little bit more, but that's all we got. And usually the entry fees are usually about 30% or so of the purse, something like that.
Rick Miller, did you?
Commissioners, there would be funding available to fund a contribution amount of $15,000 if that's what the request is.
Instead of carrying it over? Would you prefer that we do that and not touch the Shears pool?
I mean, ultimately, commissioners, we budgeted $75,000 for economic development for fiscal year 2026 as well.
So it's
So,
in this, okay, so it's in the 26 budget.
well, I
too.
know, I mean,
Okay.
we did not expend any money for the sled dog challenge last year, as Jerry indicated. So this, I guess, could,
So it could either go out of 25 or 26.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So which would be better
I
for the
would,
county? We've
I
already,
think for 2025,
okay.
that would be my recommendation.
I'm good with that because then that keeps the community impact program starting fresh.
Yep. Okay, I would,
I'll make a motion that we can approve the contribution for the fiscal year 2026
2025.
from the 2025 economic development of 15,000 for the Idaho Sled Dog Challenge.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, your challenge is you need an invoice to Doug
Okay, thank you.
immediately.
Thank you.
We have to pay that by the end of the month.
Okay, we'll get that out today or
Okay.
tomorrow. So then question, as far as the grant request for next year,
Yeah.
you need to do go through the new program.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, technically, we have it in the economic development line item too,
Yeah.
because there was opportunities for economic development. But if we're gonna do a grant process, then it would make sense to do that.
Great. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for flexibility.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Good luck. Pray for snow. We're supposed to
Yeah.
get it this year.
Snow. That's right. So.
You know what? Do you mind going down to the clerk's office? Do you know where the clerk's office is? And then bear with me, Jerry. I think I might have your email. Will you be, if you can just send it to me, email it, then let's just make sure that I have. Maybe I don't. If you don't mind just stopping by the clerk's office, they can give you my card and just submit an invoice to us and we'll get it paid.
It's right where you came in to come in the building, Jerry.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I sure appreciate it.
All right. All right, next up is our 3 o'clock discussion and decision approval of the Perpetua proposed community development agreement. Welcome back, ladies. Thank you. Come on up. Grab a microphone. Okay, we've gotten a couple different rounds of documents that we've got. And some further questions for you. So, who would like to start on questions?
Let me get through my papers here.
Okay. We can each take a section or something if you want to do that with some.
You want to sit on
Okay, let's just start on roads. So during the last conversation, number 3, I had, kind of stated that doesn't have anything to do with the county. It's it talks about intersections with
On page
Valley
2.
County and the Idaho Transportation Department, yes, the roads. So it's kind of vague. I mean, I don't know that we can put in there maybe where are these intersections. I think I'm familiar with 2, maybe 3, and when those are supposed to be built. I mean, if we have that information, that could be in the road development agreement also. We could just reference the road development agreement, which, by the way, I understand is on the agenda for next week, but Jeff's never gotten it yet.
Oh,
We haven't
that's
gotten it yet?
good to know.
So-
I don't think we knew that it was, but we did ask if we could
We
get it
asked.
scheduled, so
We
we
didn't
just
know
didn't
it
get
was
the answer, so
scheduled.
that's great.
Oh,
Appreciate that.
I don't think it's enough time for us though. I mean, Jeff's gonna need it and then he's gonna have to send it to parametrics and we've got some, conversation there.
Okay, and there has been communication, with the road department, in fact, with the numbers and the calculations, and we understood they, were in support of that. But yeah, if there's more time that's needed, just, let us
we'll-
know.
Jeff's here. He told us he hasn't seen it yet.
Was it with the
We
road
have a
department?
new director starting here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
I think we need to let her get involved with this. Jordan stopped by my office, that's why
Okay.
I'm almost late, because I was talking to him.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jordan is the one who said that he had met with you about, the calculations for the
Yeah, so that
payments.
he reminded me that was a draft agreement with draft numbers earlier this year, I believe. Dan was the one that was working on it.
Okay. We just need to
Okay.
get a copy of it if we can get that and then.
And then we can see about scheduling. Perfect.
That's good.
Oh,
So maybe we can just reference that and maybe in this agreement, we just say see road development agreement or something, but that would be helpful to have which intersections we're working on and when those intersections would be developed.
Is the reference in number 2 enough to just delete number 3? Because that's, or do you want to have a reference to the ITD specifically and just reference the road maintenance agreement again in number 3? Either one seems fine to me.
I mean, it's kind of like those intersections don't have anything to do with us anyway.
Right.
So I don't really care that it's in there. What do you guys think?
it's ITD that's not involving us.
So just delete number 3 then.
Was it a condition of approval of the logistics facility? I didn't bring that.
It does reference agreement with ITD. Cinda just asked, is it a condition? It references it, and we can't do any work on Highway 55 without ITD's permission. That's just the way it works. You have to get encroachment permits, and so all we were trying to do here is reference that we will be doing that. So
Okay, and
if you need anything further than that to satisfy that CUP condition, then we're open to that conversation for sure, but we have to work with them to be able to do that road work.
I don't think we need anything more than that. Just my opinion. But
Well, I think as long as the road development agreement actually calls out those intersections and when they're to be built, that will satisfy that request.
In some cases, I'm not sure, at least at this moment, that timing can be decided because like on the Boydston intersection. I think City of McCall and ITD are working on that swap from downtown to making that the
Okay.
corridor. And so that's the difficulty on the Dinehard and Boydston piece, is really determining what ITD and the City of McCall are going to do. And so that's why those particular intersections haven't progressed further than they have, is we're waiting for the two of them to make their decision on what's happening.
That makes
And I think that's why the timeline, there is no timeline, because you're dealing with ITD. It's their timeline.
Kind of like it being in here simply because if someone from the community just gets this agreement, they're going to see.
so.
But I think we detail it out. Not to an extreme amount of detail, but construct improvements at Highway 55 intersections, including Boydston, Warm Lake, and
Whatever, yeah.
Dinehard. Are those the three?
Uh-huh.
And that's all you have to. And then it's clear for a community member to read that that's part of the agreement too. If everyone's okay.
'Cause you can't put timelines in there, but yeah, referencing those would be nice.
And then number 4, throughout operation of the project, Perpetual will take measures. What does measures mean? Is that a certain number of loads per day? I know that there was conversation, and I didn't see it in this agreement anywhere, but that there would be certain hours that we would have vehicles on the road. So is that the measures? How do we document what measures are? So accountability is there if need be.
So we did get some additional input from Kyle. Is that,
Yep.
can I
Yep.
could share this just to try to get that input? Sorry, get to the right spot here. Kyle's comment was that that's really why they have the warehouse at the logistics facility, so that the Amazon, the FedEx truck, and other parts deliveries and other smaller parcel delivery services can drop their deliveries at the logistics facility, and then we can consolidate that and ship it to the site on an as required basis. So the larger loads, if they can't be dropped at the logistics facility, would either travel directly to the mine or travel in a convoy. So that's what's meant by consolidating loads, is the logistics facility will help pull that in. So it isn't a scheduled or detailed thing, it's just the actions that they plan to take.
So somewhere in conversations, there was always something about, we're going to be moving people first part of the day, middle part of the day, the residents would be able to anticipate driving on that road without, a lot of truck traffic. And then the end of the day, you'd be bringing people back out potentially.
So
Where
the
is that documented?
So the conversation, Jerry, at this moment is really right at the break of day. And so trying to take that traffic out first thing in the morning, you can't really delineate times given seasonal change. So what they're really trying to do is the convoy would leave from our facility at the logistics facility first thing in the morning, and then leave site first thing in the morning. They're having dialogue now to say, or do we have to run a convoy late in the afternoon to come back off the hill? Because not all loads will require a length of time to get unloaded. So they're still trying to determine what that looks like. But our logistics facility hours are 7 to 7 or 8 to 7. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. So we would travel during those hours.
So it would be,
But we are looking at doing convoys for sure.
Kind of like we did when we went up to the mine.
Exactly right. That's exactly
Same
right.
thing.
we don't know what measures mean. So if we could identify something that is,
Yeah, 7 to 7.
take measures.
And this whole provision taken out, and say we'll consolidate loads.
Yeah, it is, you're right, very soft language. It's just trying to be descriptive of something we're offering. It isn't really an easy thing to check or enforce. And so if that's important to you, it may be easier just to delete it, but we also don't mind offering it because that is what they're planning to do.
I think as a legal document, it's fluff that's unenforceable anyway, so.
Well,
let's just
I
go
mean,
to that.
arguably a good chunk of this agreement is in that regard because we're trying to document things that are not necessarily even tied directly, some things in here that aren't even tied directly to the conditions of approval in the CUP. But it was important to Perpetua for a statement to the county and to the public about a larger range of commitments that they've made and to document them into an agreement. So, it's really your choice if you want that in there or if you have suggested language of how you'd like it, but we don't have a ton of detailed metrics about it to offer you, I guess.
Is this daylight hours?
It's 7 to
7 to 7 is the hours of operations.
So depending on the time of year, it could be. What do both of you guys want?
I'm okay with it, especially if you could probably say something in there during the logistics facility operating hours.
Okay.
I wish there was, but I can see that we're not at that point to say no more than 25 heavy loads per day or.
It's more than that, Callan, as to what's in the record of decision. All of that traffic is detailed out on what anticipated numbers and how many are light vehicles versus heavy vehicles.
I mean, why don't you just put down Perpetua will consolidate loads to the mine site and will operate shuttle service. You don't need take measures to.
So question, that same thing, what about your vendors? So I know that vendors have been up there late at night.
You mean traveling the roads late at night? Once we get into swing of construction, those loads are going to start being consolidated and at the logistics facility. Now, between now and the time we actually get to start utilizing the logistics facility, because the road maintenance agreement still has to be negotiated, I don't know the plan. I'm sorry, Sherry, I don't know.
Okay. Housing.
I have a question
Go ahead.
from roads.
Yep.
On number 3, it says during construction, they're going to make the improvements to the intersections. We don't know if that's going to happen during construction because construction's supposed to be 1 to 3 years.
I think that's a fair point, Cinda. As Belinda was just describing, we don't have control over the Dinehard intersection
And Boydston, right?
or Boydston.
Both.
So just take
Both are
out during
city of McCall.
construction.
Okay.
Yeah, just scratch those two words.
Scratch that part. I think that's a good catch.
Yep.
She's very good at what she does.
She is.
She's our brain trust.
She's our wordsmith.
So is there anything, just thinking through this, is there any kind of agreement with ITD though, that these are intersections that will be improved at a specific time? Because 20 years from now, we could still be going, when are you going to build these roads?
So the form of agreement that ITD has is an encroachment permit, so it's a regulated administrative process. And so that's the only, written documentation that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Other than cooperative efforts that are ongoing to finalize the designs. And so, like, for example, on the Warm Lake, the reason they believe that will be 2027 at this time is because they've already worked through the designs. So it's a back and forth process. And the other ones, the city of McCall is also involved. So that would be 3 parties involved.
Maybe we need something in there that you will construct these intersections. Is there a window within the project itself? Prior to.
I guess, Sherry, most of what's here is informational purposes only. the road maintenance agreement is going to detail that. Because what I would tell you is City of McCall has been all over the place on the design of that Boydston intersection and what they want and what ITD will allow. So it may be that Perpetua says, here is the funding for what we anticipated spending here for the design that ITD and us talked about originally. So that intersection might not ever get improved if City of McCall and ITD can't come to an agreement on what that intersection looks like. So those are the three intersections that Perpetua has gone to ITD and the City of McCall to improve. And they offered a particular amount of funding based on what ITD said our required funding looked like. So when and if those intersections are built, I cannot honestly tell you at this moment.
I did see the proposed plans recently.
What if we said in coordination with, and or as required by, does that help with that?
That sounds good.
Because it is a commitment to construct, to the extent we're allowed to, and so does that work for you?
Yeah.
Does that sound better? Because
That's great.
we are trying to embody that commitment, and as long as it's in here, I don't think it should be in both, because currently the road agreement does not include ITD, because again, it's not a county thing. So I think we either put it here or in the road agreement, and we get it to the language you want.
I think it needs to be in here and not in the road agreement.
Okay, and so in coordination with and or as required by ITD.
PD?
That's great.
Cooperation.
What was the third one? Dinehard? Warm Lake, what was the third one?
Dinehard, Boydston, Warm Lake Road.
Woodston. Over there where it hits the highway? The bypass?
Correct.
Huh.
There's all kinds of cool reroutes in that area that's being proposed.
Too many stoplights. We're gonna look like Avamore for a while.
All right, onward and forward.
Roundabout. Thank you, Jeff. You know how I like roundabouts.
So on the housing, I appreciate you guys putting in that. So we just spent $100,000 on a housing needs assessment. I think that maybe every 5 years we could do updates to it, but 10,000 won't touch that. Is there any other opportunity to try and increase that to 25? And then that would probably be 25 in Perpetua and 25 that the EDC is going to have to help find funding for. So it would be a shared expense.
Where are you at, Sheriff?
I'm under housing, number 1.
What page is that?
On the same one, right
Page
underneath the
2.
road. Because the housing needs assessment needs to be updated every 5 years anyway. To really make it effective.
Yeah, so the increment of years made sense to you guys. It didn't seem to be an annual thing, but it's the amount of our share of that is what you're.
Because I think with only a $10,000 match, it's going to require a lot from the community in order to match that. So,
Sherry, I tried to find out from the executive director how much Agnew Beck charged this last year, and I have not received an answer yet.
okay.
So she is reaching out to Agnew Beck to find out what the cost was for just this update 1 year later.
Okay. So maybe we could agree that whatever an update would cost.
I have reached out to those that are going to make that decision. That is above my pay grade.
Okay. You guys stop if there's anything else you want to cover as we go. So let's go to page 3, the emergency response.
Can I insert something into housing, please?
Yes.
Under number 1, is there any way to tie in the findings that if Perpetua has caused some sort of massive change, that they will agree to do the cooperation identified on page 7? If it's determined that Perpetua has
Had a large
If
effect.
that housing
Large
shows that
impact.
we have impacted, then
Which one on 7 are you talking about, Cindy?
3 cooperation. I think that would tie that needs assessment into a renegotiation in the future if it's determined that Perpetua's had large impact.
We had considerable commentary on that at the last work session, trying to explain that we are not understanding how that could be tied to Perpetua in any meaningful way. You have had a housing crisis before we are here, and if that continues, changes, gets better, gets worse, I don't think you're going to be able to connect that to Perpetua's impacts in any meaningful way. And so we continue to not want to connect that in any direct way, as Cinda just asked, just as we commented last time.
Linda, on the foundation, is there anything in the bylaws that state that any entity will receive, that there's a maximum what an entity would receive? Or on the housing, section of it, can you pay salaries out of it? Or, what is the bylaws? Because I don't remember if it's,
the bylaws for the foundation, there are no maximums in there. And housing is not specifically spelled out in the bylaws. So it talks about community need, and helping to address community need, as we reference, such as housing, daycare, so forth and so on. But there is nothing in the bylaws that specifically state that that's what those funds are being used for.
we still don't have my vote at the 10, I will tell you that. So, and I think that answered your question. They're not gonna tie it to anything. Emergency response. So we have been contacted by the countywide EMS district and asked not to sign this until there's further conversation. Have you had further conversation?
So I've had some conversation with Amanda, and she thought that they had to agree to something prior to you guys being able to sign off on this agreement. As I mentioned at the meeting a couple weeks ago, I have worked with the Cascade EMS and with Jackie at the Dauntley EMS to ask them how difficult it is for them to put together an invoice for us if we need to utilize their services. They thought that that was perfectly fair. I have not specifically gone to Valley-wide EMS because they were not specifically tied to Valley County. And so I thought, working with those other two departments who tell me that there are still individual contracts with each of the fire and EMS departments, that we were covering our basis on that. And as I indicated, when the Stibnite Advisory Council tried to have dialogue with Valley-wide EMS, their director said, well, you could give us $1 million. And I said, well, I'd like $1 million too. And so no further dialogue has happened. I did offer to go give an update at next month's meeting. My understanding is they have 2 commissioners that are switching out. And so Amanda has asked me to come just after the beginning of the year.
Interesting.
I did have a question on number 1, a hazardous materials spill response trailer for Valley County Emergency Management Team.
Yes,
Is that Juan?
yes,
So it is the county's emergency
that is
response.
correct. I just, in having conversation with Juan, I said, I don't want to be in the middle of who stores said trailer. Is it at the EOC? Is it going to be at the Donley State? That is up to you guys to decide. It is for Valley County.
Okay. The top of page 4, the added language on the annual reimbursement of actual cost. So these are some of the concerns. I know you talked to Kevin, but some things have come up since then. Some of it I can't discuss yet because there's going to be an ongoing investigation into some things. But a couple of the concerns that came up, and I've raised this one before. There's no law enforcement back there, so no citations can be issued. We just had an emergency rescue back there where the sheriff's office was fully engaged and had to be the lead on the whole thing to bring everybody in. So emergency rescue is going to fall with the county. I think that's pretty bunch of focus. The Steve does a great job back down here. He's very limited in his resources. We are the ones that have the resources and are the 24/7 on call. So I think that is going to hit our sheriff's office. There's no LEOs anymore. I mean, you can't find a law enforcement officer for the forest. You can't even find a law back there. So I don't know how many times, there's campgrounds between us. Do you think those campgrounds are going to be full in the summertime if families coming up to spend time close to their loved ones? Who knows?
As I explained to Kevin, when these guys are on shift, they're on site. They don't have personal vehicles to come off site and go visit with their families. So could there be, I suppose, that they could choose to be up there, spend time with their family on their time off? Who knows? But during a work shift, absolutely not.
They're there 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off,
That is correct.
just like guys out in the Gulf.
And part of the dialogue with Kevin and I, we're also going to have a security team. So we will have 2 officers on at any given time. And he's made it perfectly clear that that's his recommendation, that they travel in pairs, not to be on their own. So we will have 24-hour coverage, roving security officers. Our team, of course, our contractors will be required to have staff that helps keep an eye over their staffing, etc., in these early years of construction. So if there comes a time that they can show that we warrant additional need of officers due to this project, we absolutely will come back to the table and have this dialogue. We just have nothing that shows us at this moment that that's needed. And what Kevin, the reason that we added this number 3 was Kevin didn't realize that we would reimburse for those costs because it had the reference to the insurance reimbursement. So he asked to have the sheriff's department piece in a separate line item.
Okay.
The sheriff happened to just walk in as well.
Hi, Kevin.
I know it's hard when you have people behind you.
So because of the way that our sheriff's deputies are paid, there may come times when we don't have anybody to send back there. So that's of concern. Do you guys want to consider having some on-call where you have some kind of a separate contract, for an on-call deputy to where they would be able to be called up? Because if there is a week where they would normally get overtime pay for going and doing that, but they're on vacation or they got days off coming up, they're not going to get any overtime pay for that. So you're probably not going to have people step up and want to go clear back there. And we don't have enough deputies on the valley floor to be sending people back there. So that's when it's gonna become a concern, it's lack of bodies. So
Can
then,
I ask Kevin a question? So Kevin, when or if there is that situation when you cannot respond, would Idaho State Police be the ones that would respond in your place if necessary?
Maybe, a lot of times we have a hard time getting Idaho State Police to respond to a crash on Highway 55. They have their resource limitations as well. I'll be honest, one of my biggest things, you and I spoke about it yesterday, is we do not send one deputy in the backcountry. It's a two-man unit or nobody goes. And so right now we have two, which means half of the week, nobody's back there. And so that's our biggest concern on this. And I'm just worried, just like you and I spoke yesterday, the reason we put backcountry under a completely different division and everything is because if they're under a patrol sergeant, then they're going to be pulled into where all the people are. Now we're putting basically a town the size of Cascade back in the backcountry that at best is a 3-hour code run. And so that is my biggest concern is not only do we have to spin somebody up and then we have to get them there safely. And then what if trucks are coming out at the same time? There's a lot of things I'm worried about on this. And I'm really worried about things are going to kick off on the opposite end of the week of when our backcountry's on. That's my biggest concern. And we're basically putting a town the size of Cascade that far away from services.
For short term,
Short term.
you know, the construction absolutely peaks at 1,000. And then you have to remember that those shifts are 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So it's half. So it's 250 to 300 people at a time.
Okay.
That will be back on site.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question there. Our backcountry officers that we've had back there in the summer, we don't have them back there in the winter?
Yes, we do.
We do. But we
Yeah, the
still,
snowmobiles, they're doing sticker patrol, snowmobile patrol, tracked UTV patrol.
we only have 2 of them though. So they have to go everywhere in pairs. So when they're off, we don't have anybody back there.
Or take, for instance, every year we send them into LEO snowmobile training to get people into some of the places where these sleds are getting now. We have to have the deputies trained up to be able to get to where these pro riders go. So we're sending them off into Yellowstone and everything. So there are times in the winter that they're not here. So then we're trying to have to figure out, okay, who has the skills to get back into that now because our main riders are gone. Not only are our main riders gone, our main equipment's gone. So we're actually operating with our JV crew, if you will, on a snowmobile, as well as the JV snowmobile. We're using our backup sleds as well. And so there's all these logistics, and I don't want to be the doomsday guy because I'm not, but we also have to plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? I don't want to get caught with my pants down here.
and that's why we're trying to get that worked out. So,
Absolutely.
Can I interrupt for 1 sec? So Sherry, yes, we can do 25K, year 5, 10, and 15
Thank you.
towards an updated housing study.
so the annual reimbursement, that's covered.
So do you think that the language in this document is enough that when we get into it, 3 months from now, we can, we see that you guys are gonna need to help us pay for 2 more officers? There's strong enough language that we'll renegotiate on that.
You tell me. I feel that it's strong enough language. I guess, Sherry, we have always operated in good faith and covered all our impacts, always. And so in my mind, by saying that we're gonna come to the table, and if you all can show us that we need these officers due to this mine project, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of like a supply and demand thing.
Absolutely. You know, the example that you gave when the sheriff just had to have these 2 officers back there, this happens without anything to do with our project. So not only are we going to be paying property taxes, but we're going to give full reimbursement if we have to utilize your services. And so at least this is not going back on the taxpayers. Perpetua is covering off our cost. And again, if
Right.
there comes a time that we can show that because of this mine, these things are happening, our calls have increased, but absolutely we will come back to the table and have that dialogue.
I guess my largest concern is you, my friend, may not be at that table. It might be your corporate lawyer. And then that is a whole different conversation. So,
So is the language strong enough?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with like knitting this down to each little thing, I'm looking at the cooperation agreement, and it's very open-ended, right? Which is, I think you're questioning if that helps. And I understand that. It also, arguably, if you start putting little provisions in each of them, then you start undermining it because you said it specifically on one and not another. So we tried to make it broad, so that the parties are working in good faith together, because we can't currently anticipate what the issues are.
Right.
Specific to the sheriffs, I mean, as Belinda just pointed out, there will be property taxes. So, we would hope that if the county is coming to say that there's impact on a particular division service provider within the county, that you're also looking at, okay, well, what was our proportionate contribution to that? And it looks like our need is exceeding that. And that would be the kind of information we would work with.
your
So,
property taxes this year were $4,100.
right, they're not very much right now, it's true. Yeah, and so that may be part of that conversation. And so I'm certainly open. I mean, we understood that Brian was going to take a look at this language, and we did get the request back of deleting that first sentence, which we were open to. We didn't get any other feedback of changes to this language. Certainly open to it. It really is intended to capture good faith actions between the parties to come back together to address concerns that we aren't currently aware of as a need right now.
I think, and part of this, I think, is what that he's getting into is he's trying to cover the what ifs. Yeah, I get that, and I think for right now, it's pretty well put together. So I understand what Brian does, and that's why we have him. He's awesome, but
Some of these are Brian's questions. So keep in mind, this has just been a really fast process because we haven't had a chance to see all of these comments either. So we're trying to work through this too. So maintain an on-site emergency response team. Is that trained? How many's on the team? Just that's
We will be required by MSHA,
okay.
and
That's set in policy somewhere else.
that is exactly right.
that's the mines.
That's mine health and safety.
That's like OSHA,
administration.
but for mines.
It's OSHA, but for mining. Yep.
Contain sufficient water tank and pumping capacity for fire protection. What is sufficient? Is that set somewhere?
I couldn't tell you how many gallons that's gonna be, Sherry.
Have a big hose
Again,
pumping out of a
And
pond
all
somewhere?
of that is requirements of maintaining or opening and maintaining a mine. And so all of that is part of the MSHA rules and regulations. I have absolutely no clue. I have not had to do MSHA training yet.
They just have to follow whatever the mine safety guidelines are.
Sheriff comparing like to
Kevin?
Hey, Commissioner, I just want to close one loop here. I don't want to leave open for Perpetua as well as the county. If that call comes in, the sheriff's office is responding. We will respond. It may not be as quickly as everybody wants, but we're going. We don't just say we're closed and not show up. So I just want Perpetua to know that if they have something going on, we're not just going to say, sorry, we can't be there. So I didn't want to leave it open like that because that just didn't sound right. And I just wanted to make sure that if a call comes from any corner of this county, we're coming. I don't care if it's the chief deputy and we're coming. Okay?
So it might just be delayed response
It may be a
because of
delayed
things
response
happening on the
because
valley
we're
floor.
obviously we're going to try to get marked units out there first. But if not, if nothing else, Dave and I will go.
Sure.
Just so we're clear. I don't want anybody to think we're not going to respond to anything out in the county.
Appreciate that.
I noticed under waste disposal, there's one word in there. The void use of the local transfer station.
I'm sorry, the what?
Sorry, it's on page 5, number 3. It says that on disposal locations that may include direct haul to a landfill outside of the county to avoid use of the local transfer station. I mean, is that just, there will be no use of the local transfer station, or where would be an opportunity, or we need to?
This moment in time, we have agreed to take it all outside of the county. My understanding is you guys have some shifts in personnel that we might want to come back to the table and have dialogue. You're open to having that dialogue at such a point in time that you all would like to have it.
You guys,
God bless you.
You
you
wouldn't,
guys will be transferring the waste yourselves. Is that correct?
We will contract with someone.
Oh, you're gonna contract like with
I would assume
the
so.
public or somebody like that to actually haul your, okay.
Because it's all waste. We'll, our hazardous material as well as our,
And we can't take hazardous anyhow, so,
exactly right.
okay.
Miller, on page 7, there is, under number 4, there is a section that states, by January 31st of each year, they will make a payment and an annual accounting of the funds received and how they have been or will soon be utilized. Do we have a mechanism in order to track these funds and to be able to report?
Depending on how the commissioners are inclined to spend those funds, we could create a separate fund. But we would have to make sure that we get approval from the outside auditor to create a separate fund. And I would recommend that the commissioners identify how those funds are going to be expended in the future. If they're just for normal operations, I think we should build that into the budget. I don't know if that's going to be related to I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now, if they utilize the clerk's office for recording documents, what are the funds being
guess-
contributed to the county specifically for? Just general operations, or I think,
We haven't had that
General
discussion.
operations, there's the groomer funding. There will be,
Reimbursement for sheriff's direct costs.
exactly, there will be some maintenance funds for Valley County Parks.
we would have specific revenue lines for those funds that would be broken out, and there would be separate expense lines for those. The concern that I would have is just the comments or in the document that just says general operations.
General.
I think the commissioners,
So number 4, I mean, is that necessary, or do you need, how do you, annual accounting of the funds received and how they have been or will soon be utilized? I mean, I don't know that we really need to have a whole separate line item set up and say, well, we spent 25,000 on building and 10,000 on planning and zoning, and, you know, those general operating funds are general operating funds, whatever expense we have.
We'd have to have a discussion on what we wanted to spend them on. Interesting.
Linda, you can weigh in on this. This is just a comment. I think some of this is because we have other third-party beneficiaries in this agreement that aren't the county, that we added to explain how we are addressing services generally, and so, you know, want to make sure that their funds are being used for the recipients for the designated purpose, because they're pretty narrow purposes.
Maybe we could just see,
That's
or
part of it.
report on expenditures.
Not
yeah, I
don't
mean,
wanna see
commissioners,
that.
again, from the revenue side, my apologies for interrupting you, Belinda. We would create a revenue line of 100,000, and realistically, that amount coming in will be the amount that we're reducing to in property taxes, right? Potentially. But the concern that I have is if we have to provide annual reports to Perpetua on how specifically those $100,000 are being utilized, I mean, I guess we would do a portion of the building department's salary, a portion of the planning and zoning salary. Is that the expectation of Perpetua? To specifically break down how that $100,000 is being expended in the Valley County budget?
I do not think we need to put any of that burden on you guys. That certainly isn't the intent. And for, especially for those general services, it's for you to allocate how you see fit to allocate that. So, that isn't really intended to be any kind of catch. You know, that kind of, information would be helpful if you're coming back to the table again through the cooperation to say, hey, look, we've been paying attention to this, and this is how, for example, we just talked about with the sheriffs, this is how we think that you're, you know, using more than you're providing. But it's certainly not intended to create an accounting burden.
Yeah, accounting, yep, I agree.
And especially that general county services, because it sounds like that's maybe the most burdensome. I mean, that, because it's such a general list and it includes et cetera, right? I mean, looking back at that number 4 on page 5, this is the general county services related to the project. For example, you know, building department, courts, prosecutor's office, assessor's office, et cetera. So it's really not even intended to be specific. It's for you to use how you see fit.
So is this, so you guys can track, so like, let's take the annual payment of the 5,000 to the county for first responder. So that you guys can track that we didn't put that 5,000 into our general fund. You just want to see that was then transferred to the correct ending entity.
That's the only intent.
Yes.
Just for general
Can we just-
categories as described.
We
I
want
just
to,
don't want to obligate ourselves to something that creates a bookkeeping nightmare for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, can you just run a report at the end of the year that's right out of Tyler that states anything to do with Perpetua, or?
It depends how we receipt the money in. But if we have specific, as it's broken out in the agreement, I think it's broken out specific and enough that the contributions that are proposed to be made will be going to specific programs, which we would be able to identify. It will create specific revenue lines, like for the recreation, for the 73,000 that's being proposed specifically. We would create a revenue line specifically for that. So it's just it's not gonna be a accounting nightmare because of the ability for us to receipt that money in, and then we would create a separate expense line for those contributions to be utilized for these specific requirements as well. Hopefully I'm explaining myself.
'Cause I think some of it will go directly to the entities. They won't come into Valley County.
Correct. But an example in my mind is that $5,000 used towards the hazmat trailer to help reimburse materials if they had to utilize any, to know that that is going to the hazmat trailer, or the 15K that we're giving to help build out the grooming program in 43C.
And we would put that, again, I apologize, Belinda, I'm notorious for that. We would put that in a budget in that program.
And like the 5,000 be an emergency services
We would
underneath
like-
Juan's budget.
Correct.
And
So-
Dave would have a line item underneath his, so we would
Correct.
have. Yeah,
And then that would be
receipts.
easy to run a report to present to Perpetua that says, here's how this funding was expended. The
Okay,
concern that I had was regarding the contribution, general contribution. That's gonna be a little bit more difficult
so
to
do we
identify.
want to get rid of this just on paragraph 4?
But you're saying we don't have to itemize that 100,000
Yeah,
general.
we don't have to do that, so.
so do we want to document that in number 4 though,
Yeah, I
and
could-
just say,
Just add, you know, at the end of number 4, provided that no accounting is required for, and then reference the general services.
Well, you could just do away with that whole last line then. By January 31st of each year after a payment is made.
I don't think that line's still
Period.
necessary, because they want to know that we didn't take the 5,000 here and the 15,000 here and put it into our general fund.
But then it says an annual accounting of funds received.
and they're gonna make it an exclusion for the general fund.
Okay.
Number 3, on the cooperation line, I had concerns with this, and Brian's in agreement with me, but it is the party's intention to encourage, promote, and aid the project so that the opportunities and positive community impacts of the project are fully realized. Because we actually do the CUPs, we're in a regulatory party, if you will. We cannot promote, we
We
cannot.
struck that sentence.
Okay,
we-
you
we
guys have it
struck
off
that.
yours?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
And send that back to Ryan that way.
okay. I think that is everything that I had highlighted. You guys have
I'm good with this now. I'm good.
anything for you?
Depends on how you feel. I have a question for you, depending on how you're gonna move forward with
Whether I'm cranky or not?
this. No, not at all. That's not it at all.
Just kick her in her right and her left ankle.
I don't want to boot like everybody else has on. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think the only thing still surrounding it is some verbiage, on law enforcement. But Kevin, if you're okay with the way that it's written, then and it specifically states that.
I'm okay with the way it's written as long as we are able to revisit it, and that would actually be good because I'm more comfortable with data driven, to where I can show up and say, on this day, this day, this day, and this day we came there because of this, instead of just going, well, by golly, I think it's gonna. And so as long as we have that gateway to where I can come back with data driven analysis and say, here's what we did, here's when we did it, and here's why we did it. And that way, I think it's just a whole lot easier for everybody to digest that way. But I want to make sure that we have that segue into some sort of a discussion coming up.
And that helps us too, that if we need to put in a different policy, like we've had to do with some other departments, like where we don't take away PTO or something, that your data helps us make decisions that can benefit your employees or the employees of the county.
And our RMS system allows us to do that, to where we can trigger with codes and then we can run a report.
There's one other thing that I was going to bring up. I'm going to be a little bit cautious on what I say, but so you guys hire a vendor and they get in trouble on the road back there. How do we mitigate that?
First of all, if you're referring to the incident yesterday, we came together as a team this morning to say, how are we going to handle this? It was not a concern, complaint, or grievance that was filed with us. It went out on Facebook. One, we have to consider source. Two, we reviewed dash cams, looked at all of the information, did an investigation. So ultimately, we are changing some language in our contractor contracts to say, one, staffing can be drug and alcohol tested at any time. Two, if there is an incident, we ask them to report it to Perpetua and allow Perpetua to investigate it to come back. If, of course, it includes something that needs to include law enforcement, we would do so. And then we will respond to the complainant or grievant, and then do have mitigation measures. So this morning we decided that we are going to ask everybody to have dash cams on their vehicles, change the language in that contract that we can drug and alcohol test at any time. We are going to set up an extra rover to be able to be watching this as well. Reports of this kind have happened before that end up coming back to us that in fact had nothing to do with our contractors or were taken very much out of context. And so we just have to be able to address those as they present themselves and then decide what that mitigation looks like. If you would like, I would more than happily biannually give you guys an update. I'm going to be in charge of that program. So if it would be helpful to you guys to hear what some of those situations have been, we can do that.
Oh, and this is one of the
High level.
reasons, you know, that I just have some concerns back there is because this is a controversial mine, and you could have protesters, you could have,
Sure.
you know, these types of individuals reporting all the time. And so my concern for all of us is that, you know, it is going to be a heavier lift than we think it is. But most importantly, every single time there is a complaint, not only are you researching it, we have to research it. So that will be on our expense report to you, that it took us 20 hours in order to resolve this complaint. So are we on the same page, you know, that there is going to be some time that we are going to be spending doing research that may or may not ending up in a citation?
If in fact it is related to the mine, I am sure that it falls under that bucket of reimbursement.
Okay.
So was an official complaint filed with you all as well?
I understand that, yes,
Okay.
it was. So that's my understanding at this point anyway, so.
And I think something that we need to consider is we use a lot of these same contractors ourselves, so
For
very
sure.
likely they could be back on county business. We contract with some of them for winter maintenance and such, and so on our end too, we understand that sometimes this might actually turn out to be a complaint on a county contractor versus a mine contractor.
That has been the case in a couple of situations.
Oh, yeah.
So, not unlike the actual law enforcement, I get phone calls at 1:30 in the morning complaining about contractors.
Oh my gosh, who gave out your phone number? Oh my
The
God.
world has my phone number.
No, unfortunately ours too. I used to be a real estate agent, so therefore mine's everywhere.
Leave your phone on your desk and go home. That's the way you do it.
Notices are silent. All
So,
right.
where do we go from here?
So you had a question. How mine are done?
Well, I want to know how you feel about the overall. So my question is, in 2020, I went back and watched the YouTube video, and unfortunately, this is going to put you right on the spot because you're the only commissioner that was here in 2020. It's really, really vague. So it depends on whether you're okay with that they up to the 25,000 or not on asking this question. So it's just going to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Let me ask a real quick question. If we approve, here's the permanent one that Oki did, which I assume you guys have the same one, is all our little parts and pieces that she's
They'll need
busy writing are going to be in this.
We'll need to get an updated copy. We're not signing this one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, can we vote on this now, or we have to wait until you revise that?
I would ask, but this is up to you, of course, because these are very specific changes that we've talked through, that you would approve subject to final review, that we made them the way you asked us to make them. And because these are very discrete changes, I brought my laptop to be able to do it on the fly if we need to right now, and then I can send them to Brian since he's not here. So you would, approve subject to your ability to finally review those changes to confirm they said what you asked me to put in there. But that's process suggestion for you guys to consider.
I'm fine with that. I don't know how you two ladies are.
Yeah, it's subject to review. I think we're fine. I don't think it matters between that and putting it on next week for approval, but
It's really not final till it's signed, so I think
Exactly.
that seems like a good process to follow.
so I went back and listened also to the meeting. And during the CUP, there was a lot of conversation surrounding housing. I mean, that was one of the large conversations we had. Elton and I were both concerned about how this was going to impact housing. And it wasn't just for the site, which we knew that, you know, the CUP is only for the facilities processing. But that was one of our largest concerns. And then the road impact, you know, at the end of the day, to make sure that that road was mitigated. So we thought this development agreement would be our opportunity to have a conversation about housing, roads, and I don't remember, there was 3 of them that were during that meeting. So do I think that the $25,000 mitigates housing on the valley floor? No, I do not. But at this point in time, I would sign it with the full understanding that I know that Deb just said it's going to be hard to tie all this together. It may not be that hard. I mean, if all of a sudden we have a huge increase in valuations because there's no housing at all, you know, I think that there will be ways to look at this and tie it directly to this. We don't have other large employers coming in right now. However, what we do have, we have a lot of little employers coming in order to service the mine. And there have been people that have called and said, we're going to open up a tire store. We're going to open up these shops. It's not the large employers that I'm concerned about. It's all the small ones, because small employers don't have the opportunity to go out and build housing in order to support their workers. They are going to be looking at the housing that is available here. And that's my largest concern. You know, there's going to be a lot, not only the mine that is, you guys are taking care of, like I said last time, one part of the family. You're not taking care of the whole family. But you're also going to have businesses open up here that are going to be here to support the mine. Where are they going to stay? You know, you're not going to be able to get businesses to open up here to support if there's no housing available. So it's incumbent upon all of us to try and find the solution. And I am passionate about housing. I've done a national project. I'm on a state interim committee right now. I serve on the Housing Trust, and every single time the answer to everything is money. And so if we have a company that is this large and is going to impact us, then I would expect that we cooperate together to try and find resolution. Every single subdivision that we approve, we look to mitigate the impacts on the area, and developers pay a large sum of money in order to mitigate their impacts. And so you guys are going to be a $16 billion company at the end of the day, and mitigating that impact by $25,000 really is not, in my opinion, mitigating anything. And so if you look at what a developer is going to take out of this community and what we're asking them to do, the percentage of value to that this is way skewed for anything. And so I don't know. I mean, we keep talking about housing everywhere. It is a problem currently. It is going to become a greater problem. This keeps me up at night because I don't know where this is going. Yeah, there's other circumstances in Valley County for certain, but you're going to be a large one. There's going to be a large impact from this. And when we have 30 new families join the school, there's going to be a pretty big impact when we can go and say, where are you working at? And they all say the mine. That's going to be a way to track, you know, what's happening in the housing here too.
And we did talk about that some last time. I don't know how much you want to rehash all of this, but I mean, just to provide a few comments that we see those as positives as part of economic development opportunities for the county as well. And as you bring in those smaller businesses, so let's say you can track that to, you know, positive economic spinoff of mining activity, because we do expect that there will be positive economic spinoff from that for supporting businesses. That they bring their own tax contributions for their businesses, for their contributions for where they're located, you know, not on federal land, where they have homes and employees that are also have private enterprises, homes that are paying county taxes. And so it gets to be a very complicated and I would suggest immeasurable formula when you're saying this economic activity is spurred on by the mine. Yes, economists predict multiplier effects from economic development opportunities, but then to track each one of those and the benefits they bring versus the some kind of metric tied to a housing impact to the county, to me becomes an exercise in futility. It doesn't mean you don't have housing impacts. I recognize that you do, You have them now, and you'll continue to have them as the valley grows. And, you know, a supply and demand dynamic is also at play there. There's a lot of forces that impact that. Money, for sure. A lot of different forces. But after the fact, coming back and saying that there's a change one direction or the other, and it's measurable to Perpetua, that's what we're finding unreasonable, that connection, or not reasonable to try to attach a dollar figure to that at this time.
Let's do two things. One, first of all, I forgot on the first page of this, it says that you guys are going to pay $4 million in property taxes. You will have a $4 million valuation. Okay, not property taxes. That needs to be changed because I don't want to overstate to the public what's going to happen. And secondly, the way that county government's budgets work, it doesn't matter how much property tax that these other businesses bring, it spreads it for everybody else in the system. So we can only go 3% over last year's budget plus new construction, period. So I don't care if we add another $10 billion to the property tax base, we will have the lowest property tax levy in Idaho, and we already have the second lowest property tax levy in Idaho. That does nothing for us as a county and paying for paying for our employees. You know, being able to compete in the marketplace for salaries and all of that kind of stuff. We are limited to the amount of property tax. It just spreads it over all the other entities. So when people think, well, they're going to be paying all this money, you're not. It just makes mine less, which is a value to me. But we can't ask for more than what our budget states. So that's a misnomer.
And obviously your levies and taxes adjust with your budget. We don't need that statement in the recital. It's really just a commentary, and it's an estimate as it is. And so if you prefer us to strike the language about estimated contribution to Valley County property taxes, we can just delete that.
I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
So I will vote in favor of this for right now because of the 25,000 you did as I asked, and I appreciate that. But do I think it mitigates housing? No, not in any way, shape, or form. And I think we're all going to be swimming upriver together. And when this does impact us, we're all going to take this moment and go, this is something we should have done differently.
We have many opportunities, Sherry.
As
Before
long
I
as
go
you're at that
anywhere.
table.
I've been at this table for a long time.
Okay, do we need a motion to,
Sure.
Recreation portion before you guys
Yes.
do a vote? Thanks, I appreciate it.
Oh, there was a whole conversation about recreation and what's happening this year. Go ahead.
we just
Something
line,
about leaving the,
we just line item them out.
totally forgot about recreation.
Well, no, we do have some things that are ongoing discussion. Belinda and I are waiting for an appointment with the district ranger to get some things approved. I just had two comments about line B and line D. We've talked about line B quite a bit, but I had a thought this morning is that the way that our program is set up right now, we're going to get a lease on a cat for this coming winter, and then a $200,000 contribution for the match on a grant. One of the things that I realized is that we need to apply for that grant in January of 2026, so this year essentially, because if we wait until next year, we won't have a cat up there,
Okay.
or we could be at another lease scenario. So I wanted to just clarify that. And Belinda, I apologize, I wasn't trying to throw something at you. That occurred to me this morning, and I was like, oh, we need to do that now.
So, as it stands right now, we're looking April 1 to make those payments.
Okay.
Will that suffice for your grant match?
Our grants are due in January. They're due January 29th
So
or
do you
30th
need
this year.
those funds in hand if you're gonna say you have grant match?
I would need to check on that with IDPR.
Or a letter of commitment.
If we have a letter of commitment, I think that should suffice.
Okay.
So
So
That-
is it laid out anywhere though that you're gonna lease a piece of equipment for this year?
it is not stated in that line, and I was curious if we should put that in there as well.
I hesitate. I think if we're gonna do it, it might be part of the road maintenance agreement. So part of the whole reason that we don't know the answer to this, guys, is because as it stands right this moment, due to active litigation, we cannot groom Cabin Trout Creek this year. So we are trying to get permission from the Boise Ranger that we can lease this groomer, park it at Landmark, have a generator and fuel there in order to be able to groom that backcountry. If they don't allow us to do that, then it's a moot point and we wouldn't lease a groomer. And so I think until we can figure out that piece, we can't, there's no sense putting it in here if we can't do it.
Is that what the Boise?
Yes.
So
And so
what does,
we have committed to the Snowmobile Advisory Board and to Dave. This is our plan for this year. And so they put together a list of materials and what we will need to make that happen. Now it's not an issue on our side. We've said we're gonna do it. It's a matter of can we?
I think that's a good point, is that it is very much tied to the road maintenance agreement and then to permission that we're seeking from the Boise National Forest for something that we hadn't planned on having to do this year.
Have you already engaged with them?
Emailed, and I've got his phone number, so I'm gonna try to give him a call this afternoon.
It doesn't really fit into this agreement because it's so specific to this
That's
year.
what I mean.
and-
Yeah, this is gonna be an outlier year for sure.
Yep.
Letter of commitment is no issue.
Okay, thank you. The other line that I was just talking about is, I did bring this up when you guys were talking about this last week or 2 weeks ago, is in D, it says that they will provide funding for an Idaho Avalanche Center, and I would love to see that changed to the local Avalanche Center, which is the Payette. There are agreements being drafted to work with that group already, and so I think it would be nice to specify that in this agreement.
I had it highlighted on another copy, so I apologize. I didn't transfer it to this one.
Perfect.
If you think it's gonna happen, I have no issue putting it in here. There for a bit, there was discussion around unless they hired a forecaster, so forth and so on, but I think we have come to the determination our forecaster and mitigation experts will do the forecasting, supply the data to the Payette Avalanche Center, and they will post to the appropriate link, et cetera. And so I have no issue having the Payette here.
Cool.
And there's a great expansion in the Payette Avalanche Center that's coming this year, and one of the things that's likely to happen is that the South Valley area would be included back into, at least this year, like an observation area, if not part of their forecast area. It's been excluded for the last 10 years.
Oh, good. You get more and more people. We need it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Cool. That's all I had.
Okay. So now I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we accept the agreement between LA County and Perpetua for the Stibnite Gold Project
With the amendments.
with the
as
amendments that
discussed.
were stated.
Second.
And moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What'd you say?
My nose was plugged. Is it one of those ones?
And I know where you're coming from, Sharon. I do. My struggle is on the opposite side. Perpetua has been so good about covering our impacts. That if and when that time comes, then let's have more discussion. But for the last 10 years, it has had absolutely nothing to do with this mine. So again, to anticipate something that may or may not happen at some given point in time, I don't feel it's fair.
I'll tell you,
At such a point in time, we can determine it. I will go to bat 100% with this company, you know that.
this kind of goes back to that old Bible saying, where much is given, much is expected.
So let me think through your motion again though, because we did not put with upon further review or final review.
We'll make the changes that were stated, that's what the motion says, and send that to you, and if you don't agree, yeah, we'll have to revise before you'll actually sign it.
Okay.
So very understood
Rick
that.
Miller, will you put 5 minutes on for a final approval for signatures next week?
And we will get you the road agreement as quickly as we can, and appreciate your review of that.
Yeah, get that to Jeff as soon as you can.
Do we want to cancel next week if they feel that they don't have enough time? Do we
Was that on
think?
for next week?
It was, let me,
Or do you have the first week of November available? Is that a meeting that?
And we're back to Mondays, first week of November, so
You
we'll
are,
be back
okay.
on
You
Mondays.
are.
Neil and I
November
thought we
3rd.
had a great idea and it just flopped.
That's a great idea.
Neil still likes
Every
it.
other meeting is on Wednesdays that we have to do, and yeah, we're back to Monday mornings.
Okay,
Early.
that would be November 3rd.
Yes.
Okay, that would give more time for you to review that. And we have worked on changes that, so it's effectively a continuance of the last work session.
Jeff, I mean, the new director that's coming on board, when will she be effectively starting? 28. Thinks, will she have time enough to review that?
It's gonna have to.
So that's next Tuesday.
Might give her one more week if that's possible.
Well, we can, we can at least start the discussion. Yeah, she's gonna be slammed. It's gonna take more than a week to have a full understanding of this, but that's why we still have Jeff
I
and.
might be able to get it to her before then.
Well, and I understand from Jordan that Parametrics has reviewed, so the engineers have reviewed all of the analysis. I've been told that there has been some agreements there, and so you do have input from your engineers, I believe.
Okay.
We could use that meeting to hear what any concerns or questions are too. It might be helpful to talk through those provisions. We certainly would expect that we're walking through the changes we've made since the last work session to explain what we did in response to the comments that we heard.
Awesome.
All right, that being the last item, I don't see anybody here that wants to discuss anything with the commissioners, so we will adjourn for the day.
Thank you, ladies.